They're saying they want to come back in July, basically have a modified schedule where they play half the amount of games, so roughly 80 games, and there would be a designated hitter for both leagues, and you would have baseball.
What's the idea of the designated hitter? Just to make it equal-ish?
I'm not even sure. I guess that makes some sense, and I think that they're just experimenting, to be honest with you, that if they like that, there's been talk that that might be the future of baseball anyway, where they have a designated hitter in both leagues.
Right, but
plus
I mean, it's kind of a big move.
Plus the way the schedule works out, you may not be, you're playing all of the so in other words, the Nats are playing all the AL East teams and NL East teams. Mm-hmm. So you're playing all those teams in the division, and just to balance it out, the DH would probably just make it more fair, like you said. But you will be playing in their home parks.
Yeah, they want to go with games.
Nats will be playing in Nats Park.
It would be fanless, at least for now. They're talking about fanless games, but they would be, I guess, maybe they do that because of the local contracts. It makes it a little bit better that way.
It's going to be so weird.
I have to just tell you, I just don't understand fanless. I don't understand it. I understand limited fans, extremely limited fans. I don't understand fanless. Why can't, if I could go to Costco, why can't I go to an outdoor game? It makes no sense.
I think they're just trying to control the variables and have less people
I'm
involved.
not going to infect a player.
I did read that Dana White,
staffer,
the guy who runs UFC, said a lot of the commissioners from these other leagues were calling him after UFC 249 went off so well, and people thought it was an awesome event. So we'll see what happens. Now, Sean Doolittle, the Nationals closer, he's just one guy, but maybe he's representative of a lot of people in Major League Baseball, voiced a ton of concerns. Now, his wife has some pre-existing conditions. So he's a guy who's not only giving his perspective, but also a guy who has a family's perspective, and there's a ton of baseball players who have families. I'm sure there's a ton that are single, but there's a ton who have families. He's, to kind of sum it up, one of his main concerns is that they still don't know enough about COVID, that they know that it attacks the kidney, the intestines, the lungs, but they still don't know enough, and they don't know enough about the long-term effects. And so he seems very anti the proposal.
He's a very thoughtful guy, and I'm not going to criticize him. But you can't go 10 years to find out what the long-term effects are on this thing. We just don't play until we know the long-term effects. Long-term effects means years. We're not doing that. So that's kind of silly.
Right. He went on to voice his concern about the clubhouses. He said, we know that sharing indoor spaces greatly increases the infection risk. It's rare that only one person gets sick. Will there be modifications made to clubhouses or other facilities to prevent the spread? I don't know that Major League Baseball has spoken on that yet. I mean, I threw this out there yesterday. Could they limit things where you don't have a first base coach, you don't have a third base coach, or they just stay on the field separate? They don't go back to the clubhouse with them.
Maybe you eliminate those, or at least suspend those positions during this modified short season.
I think it's that you guys are making it too difficult. You can lock it down very easily. You just test every day. And if somebody tests negative, they're out. And that, and everybody that tests negative will be out. And that'll button it down pretty good. There's a little latency in there, but for the most part, if you test everyone every day, it's like what they do at the White House. You test everybody every day, you're fine. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. That's the best thing you can do. And they can hire a private company to do that. And we're getting close to the time where they can do that. There are testing sites out there that are closing down because people aren't going through it. People don't even want the test in certain areas of the country.
So maybe that's Doolittle's concern is Major League Baseball hasn't put forward a plan of testing or hasn't told the players how many people they're going to test or when they're going to test,
but you can't
how often they're going to test.
Yeah, they should do it every day. They should test every day. They should test every day if they want to just completely button it down and make sure you protect, like you say, the third base coaches and those guys that are older.
Right.
The managers oftentimes. But you're not going to have, like what Davey Martinez suggested, like players like sitting in the stand. That's the dumbest thing ever.
No.
I mean, it's just
They're going to be
God
in the
bless Davey,
dugout.
but they're not doing that. It's going to
Right.
be a normal interaction. It's going to be a normal game if they have half a brain, and they just test every day. When you come in, you take the swab test, 5 minutes, and then boom, and that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're also looking at what's going on in Korean baseball. I know that we're not watching it, but in the Korean Baseball League, the guys on the field, they're not wearing masks, but I believe those off the field and the umpires and others are wearing masks.
Correct.
That's fine. They could do that. Yeah, they can make cool Nats masks for those
But
guys.
they're sitting in the dugout together,
Yeah.
aren't they?
But I actually would have no problem. Let's say if you're not playing in the game, you don't have to be sitting in the dugout. If you want to space them out.
There's no reason to do it, though. If you test them every day, there's no reason to do that. It's just dumb.
Where are you going to
Silly.
sit? Where are you going to
Well,
sit?
yeah, but even if they're tested every day, you have the asymptomatic spreaders. So
Yeah,
you
but if
just
you're tested-
have your social distancing.
No. If you're tested, that's tests for asymptomatic people. That eliminates that. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you're not even thinking properly.
Although that some of these people can test positive a couple days later.
There's a little window of that. There is a little window of that, but it's not,
Well, when's the world going to start going, getting going again? If you're worried about all of these other things, these parameters, why can't you just deal with it? You've got to deal with the virus.
You have to deal with it.
You can't just shut everything down for 2 years until there's a vaccine. You can't do it.
Doolittle wants to shut it down until we have long-term ramifications. What are we going to wait 10 years for
Well, I
the
mean,
test?
if he wants to do that, then his career is going to be over.
Yeah, we're not doing
Right.
that.
I mean,
Look,
I'll
he
wait
can
until-
decide if he's so concerned about it, he doesn't have to play.
Yeah, I'm sure he may not. He's a very thoughtful guy, so I'm not trying to
Yeah,
attack
I'm not
him.
trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And I understand why he's concerned. If he's got real
being
concerns
selfless.
about it, he can just say, all right, it's not worth the risk. I'm just going to sit
Right.
out. I'll come back next year or
Which
whatever.
might be the responsible thing to do, especially if his wife is, if she's got these comorbidities or whatever, then she's got these immune issues, which a lot of people do have.